Her lover failed the deal. She finally came back to me, only to find I was the one calling the shots. If someone had told me a year ago that the girl who walked out of my life like I was a bad decision would someday come running back to me with tears on her lashes and regret in her voice, I would have laughed. Not because it was impossible, but because back then I was the kind of guy who begged for love, waited for replies, worshipped promises, and believed people never changed. But life changed me. Pain changed me. And most importantly, she changed me. The day she chose another man over me, her so-called perfect lover, the guy she thought would give her a better life. I broke in a way that doesn't show up on x-rays but scars the soul forever. She left me standing in the rain with a half-smile and a half-truth, saying, "He can offer me things you can't." That sentence became the bullet that killed the old me. But the story didn't end there. Life had a twist waiting. One of those cinematic, slow-motion, jaw-dropping twists people use as background stories and motivational edits. The guy she chose? Her rich lover? Her future? He wasn't what he seemed. He was in deals, dark ones, dangerous ones that crumble when even a single promise fails. And guess what? He failed a big one. The kind you don't come back from. Suddenly, the champagne dream she chased turned into smoke. The mansion door she walked toward slammed shut. The luxury she imagined dissolved like cheap perfume in humidity. And the life she abandoned me for betrayed her harder than she ever betrayed me. While all this was happening, I wasn't stuck in the same place she left me. No, I rebuilt myself. I rose. I learned exactly what power tastes like. Not the noisy kind that brags, but the silent kind that enters a room before you do. I became someone people called sir instead of bro. I became the kind of man who doesn't chase. The kind who decides. The kind she never thought I could become. So imagine the scene. A soft evening, city lights reflecting on rainwater, and me stepping out a black SUV with a confidence I didn't have last year. I wasn't the boy waiting for her. I was the man the world now waited for. And right there, leaning against the corner of an old cafe like a Heartbreak painting, she stood. My ex, the woman who traded loyalty for luxury, now wearing regret like a shadow that wouldn't leave her. Her clothes weren't designer anymore. Her aura wasn't glowing. Her smile wasn't sharp. She looked like life had taken a razor and shaved away her illusions. When our eyes met, I didn't feel the old ache, the old desperation, the old love. No, what I felt was clarity, the kind that arrives only after you've healed. She opened her mouth, maybe to apologize, maybe to explain, maybe to beg, but I didn't give her the chance. I just looked at her with the calmness of someone who has healed from a wound he no longer remembers bleeding from. I didn't know where else to go, she whispered, her voice trembling as if truth itself was too heavy for her to carry. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. My silence was louder than anything I could have said. But life has a sense of humor, because at that exact moment, my driver rushed to my side, opened the door, bowed slightly, and said, "Sir, your meeting is ready. They're waiting for your final approval." Her eyes widened. A full second of shock. Then realization. This wasn't the same me. This wasn't the boy she left behind. This wasn't the man she thought she could crawl back to. This was me calling the shots. And the moment she saw that, the moment she realized she wasn't returning to the same timeline she abandoned, something broke inside her. And for the first time in my life, it wasn't me. She tried to smile. One of those weak, stitched-together smiles you give when you're pretending life didn't just beat you into a corner. But I could see everything in her eyes. Regret, shame, panic. That silent scream people hide when they realize the person they abandoned became the person they now need. And maybe in another life, I would have reached out. Maybe the old me would have pulled her into a hug and said something stupid like, "It's okay. I still love you, but that guy died the day she walked away." Now I looked at her the same way a judge looks at a file. Cold, objective, uninterested in the drama behind the crime. She stepped closer, her voice small. "Can we talk? Please, just 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Funny, she once didn't give me 5 seconds to explain when she dumped me. But I wasn't here to play revenge hero. I had places to be, people to lead, deals to close, Real deals, not the kind her lover used a flash like magic tricks before he disappeared into whatever hole he crawled into after failing the wrong men. Still, something in her tone was different. Not manipulative, not flirtatious, just broken. So I nodded, not because I wanted to hear her, but because I wanted closure, not for her, but for myself. I wanted to hear what version of the truth she'd try to sell. We moved to a side alley beside the cafe, a quiet space where city lights glowed like bruised stars and the smell of rain clung to the air. She wrapped her arms around herself, not from cold, but from fear of how much she'd lost. He told me he'd take care of everything, she whispered. He promised me a life, houses, cars, security. I thought I made the smart choice. There it was. The truth people never admit when things are good, only when they fall apart. I didn't react. I didn't even blink. I just watched her as she swallowed her pride like poison. She continued, her voice cracking. He was involved in things I didn't understand, things I should have run from. And when one deal went wrong, she hesitated, as if the memory itself was choking her. They came after him. They came after us. He ran, left me behind, disappeared as if I never existed. Ah, karma, the most patient assassin. So you came to me, I said finally, my voice steady, sharp, controlled. Her eyes glistened, because you're the only person who ever truly loved me. I almost laughed, not out of amusement, out of disbelief. Years ago, those words would have melted me. Now they bounce off like cheap bullets. I love who you could have been, I said calmly, not who you became. She flinched. The truth hit her harder than any insult ever could. She stepped closer, desperate now. Please, I don't want you to take me back. I just need help. I have nowhere else to go. No family, no friends, no money, nothing. I believed her, not because she was honest, but because she looked like a person who had finally run out of lies. But just as the tension thickened, my phone buzzed. A single message from my assistant. Sir, her lover's men were spotted near the West District. They're looking for her. I looked up at her. Her face went pale, completely drained of color. She stepped back as if the shadows themselves were getting closer. They can't find me. If they do, I'm dead. For the first time since seeing her again, emotion flickered inside me. Not love, not pity, responsibility. Not for her, but for the chaos she dragged into my world. If she was being hunted, that meant people connected to me might be at risk. My businesses, my deals, my people. I didn't allow danger near anything I built. Come with me, I said, turning back toward the SUV. She looked confused. You're helping me? I didn't look at her as I opened the door. I'm not helping you. I'm controlling the situation. Big difference. Because when you reach a certain level of power, you don't make emotional choices. You make strategic ones. She climbed in, trembling. I took my seat beside her, the door shutting like a verdict. As the SUV pulled forward, she stared at me, not with love, but with the terrified admiration people give to someone unpredictable, someone capable, someone powerful. She left a boy. She came back to a man who didn't just rise, but man the world now answered to. This wasn't her story anymore. This was mine. The city blurred past the tinted windows as the SUV sliced through traffic, streetlights streaking like gold scars across the dark glass. She sat pressed against the opposite door, breathing fast, her fingers trembling so violently she had to hide her hands under her thighs. She wasn't afraid of me. She was afraid of the consequences of the life she chose. And honestly, watching her unravel piece by piece felt surreal, like seeing the final episodes of a show you once loved but outgrew, a show you used to binge, cry over, obsess over, until you realized the plot was flawed and the characters were temporary. My phone buzzed again. This time it was my security chief. Sir, 2 black sedans were seen leaving the old port. Same plates we flagged earlier. They're moving inward. So her lover's enemies were closing in. And by extension, they were entering my territory. That alone made my jaw tighten. Not because I cared about her safety more than the average human, but because anyone causing chaos within my zone was provoking me directly. I didn't tolerate that. When you build yourself up from nothing, you protect every inch of what you created like a king protects his crown. And today, someone had walked onto my chessboard uninvited. She finally found her voice. Are they really coming here? To this area? I didn't answer immediately. Sometimes silence speaks louder. Her eyes darted to mine, searching for reassurance, forgiveness, comfort, anything. But comfort wasn't what I was here to give. I looked at her the way a CEO looks at risk reports, calculating, unaffected, prepared to eliminate problems. When you attach yourself to dangerous men, I said calmly, danger follows, even after they're gone. She swallowed hard. I didn't know. I swear, I didn't know he was involved in all that. I turned slightly, resting an arm on the leather seat. You knew he had money he didn't earn. You knew he had connections no normal man has. You knew he made promises too big, too fast. My eyes narrowed. You didn't ask questions because you liked the benefits. Her breath hitched. I thought it was just business. Everything is just business, I replied, until it isn't. She looked away, blinking rapidly, her emotions cracking like old paint. I watched her in that moment, not with fondness, not with bitterness, but with a strange, detached curiosity. It's funny how someone who once felt like your whole world can now sit 3 feet away and feel like a stranger wearing a memory. The car slowed as we approached my private tower. 40 floors of power, steel, glass, and everything I earned by tearing myself apart and rebuilding better. The building glowed against the skyline, like a lighthouse for ambition. She stared up at it, stunned. You live here? I own it. I replied simply. Her lips parted. Shock, awe, regret, all blending together, like a cocktail. She didn't know how to swallow. She had left a man who lived paycheck to paycheck and returned to a man who signed paychecks with one hand while closing deals with the other. Life is ironic like that. Why are you helping me? She asked softly as the elevator doors closed around us. I already told you, I replied. This isn't help. It's control. But why? I stepped closer, just enough for her to feel the truth in my presence. Because the mess that followed you could bleed into my businesses, my people, my world. I don't allow mess. I lifted her chin lightly, forcing her to meet my eyes. You are a problem, and I saw problems. She didn't breathe for a moment. Then her voice came out fragile. And after the danger is gone, what then? Then you leave, I said without hesitation. She flinched like the words slapped her. Leave? Forever? You made that choice a long time ago, I said. I'm just honoring it. The elevator dinged, my penthouse floor. The door slid open to reveal a space, so polished it looked like success had a physical form. Floor-to-ceiling windows, marble floors, a long glass table where contracts worth millions had been signed. She walked in slowly, her reflection fractured across the glass. It's beautiful, she whispered. I ignored the comment and turned to my assistant, who stood waiting. Get a secure team on standby, sweep the district, and track those sedans. She nodded and hurried away. My ex watched all this unfold, her eyes widening every second, as if she was finally seeing the full scale of the version of me she abandoned. Not the dreamer, not the boy with hope, but the man who controlled outcomes. You've changed, she breathed. No, I corrected. I evolved. She sank onto the edge of the sofa, her voice barely a whisper. I wish I'd stayed. I looked at her with the calmness of a king who no longer needs to fight for a throne. Wishes, I said, don't rewrite decisions. Outside the giant windows, the city lights flickered. Far away, 2 black sedans turned into my district. The game was starting, and this time, I was the one calling the rules. Night swallowed the city like a giant creature with neon eyes, every building glowing like it had secrets to tell. From the penthouse windows, the skyline looked calm, too calm, the kind of calm that exists right before a storm hits. My ex sat on the sofa like a ghost who had finally realized she wasn't haunting someone else's heart anymore. She was haunting her own decisions. Her fingers twisted together. Her leg bounced restlessly. Her breathing came shallow. She wasn't pretending anymore. The fear was real, raw, and loud even in her silence. I stood near the window, my reflection tall and sharp against the glass. My phone buzzed again, security update. Sir, the black sedan split. One is circling the east block. The other is heading toward your tower. Perfect. The rats were getting bold. They're really coming here, aren't they? She whispered behind me. I didn't turn. You brought them here. Her voice broke. I don't want to. No one wants to. I cut in. But choices don't care about intentions. They care about consequences. She flinched, like every word was a slap to a wound she'd been hiding. She stood and walked slowly toward me, her voice trembling. I know I broke you, and I know I don't deserve anything from you. But I'm scared. I don't want to die. I don't want them to find me. I finally faced her. Her eyes, once bright with ambition, desire, and greed, were now dull with exhaustion. The expensive makeup she used to wear, replaced with the bare truth of reality. She wasn't the same girl who left me, but I wasn't the same man she left, either. You're not going to die, I said simply. Relief flooded her face. Too fast, too naive. But not because I care, I added, because I won't let someone else's mistakes spill into my empire. She swallowed hard. I know you don't trust me, but can I trust you? I stepped closer, my tone low and controlled. You can trust that I never fail. I don't lose, and I don't let anyone touch what's on my watch. She exhaled shakily, nodding as if she was convincing herself that sticking close to me was her safest option. In a twisted way, it was. Just then, the elevator dinged. Her entire body jolted. I held up a hand. Relax. The doors opened to reveal my head of security, Zion, a man built like a bulldozer with a brain sharper than half the businessmen in the city. He bowed slightly. Sir, floors are secured. Cameras caught the sedan entering the underground parking. 5 men inside. Gear, I asked, armed, not amateurs. I nodded. Figures. Her ex's enemies weren't the type to send warning shots. They came to finish what he started, or what he failed. I felt her shaking behind me, clutching the sofa arm like it was her last anchor. Zion glanced at her, but didn't comment. He'd seen enough betrayals to understand she was both a victim and a reminder. We'll intercept them, Zion said. But there's one problem. I raised an eyebrow, which is, they're not looking for her ex anymore, he said quietly. They're looking for her. Her gasp echoed like glass breaking. She covered her mouth, her knees nearly buckling. W.I. me? I didn't do anything. Zion's voice was steady. He used her name, her identity, her presence. She was part of the cover, even if she didn't know. My jaw tightened. So her lover didn't just betray her emotionally. He used her as collateral, disposable collateral, a shield to hide behind, a decoy. She wasn't just running from danger. She was a target. Her eyes locked onto mine with desperation. Please, please don't let them take me. I hated the position she'd put us both in. I was powerful, sure, but powerful men don't like being dragged into someone else's war. Still, she was in my building now, my territory, my responsibility. Zion, I said, lock down the top 10 floors. Alert the backup team. No one gets through. Yes, sir. He replied immediately and strode out. She rushed toward me, her voice breaking. Thank you. I don't know what I would have. Don't mistake my actions. I cut in. This isn't protection. This is strategy. Her lips parted, confused and fragile. You're leverage now. You're information. You're a loose thread. I stepped closer until my voice was inches from her. And I don't leave loose threads. She froze, not from fear of them, from fear of me, because she finally realized something. The boy whose heart she broke wouldn't have survived the situation. But the man standing in front of her, he wasn't surviving. He was dominating. Outside, alarms pinged on the security screen. The intruders had entered my building. I checked my watch, calm as a storm that knew exactly when it would strike. "It's time," I said. Her voice trembled. "Time for what?" "For them to learn," I answered. "Who runs the city now?" The alarms echoed through the security screens like a countdown. Red lights began blinking across the digital map of my tower, marking the intruder's path. They weren't subtle. They weren't hesitant. They moved with the confidence of men who believed no one in this building could stop them. They were wrong. I walked to the glass table where Zion had left the tactical controls open. She hovered near the sofa, shaking but trying to hide it, her breath shallow, her eyes darting to every sound. She knew she wasn't safe anymore, even next to me, but she also knew I was the only thing standing between her and the men who wanted her erased like she was a bad signature on a worse contract. "Where are they now?" I asked, my voice steady. "Floor 18, sir." The security feed crackled through the speaker. "They're using forced entry tools. Looks like military grade." Of course they were. Only men with debts to settle worked with that kind of gear, and only for a big payout. After all, eliminating her wasn't personal for them. It was a job, a ledger entry, a final signature on her ex-lover's failure. She stumbled closer. "What do they want with me? Why won't they just leave me alone?" "Because your lover sold your name," I said sharply, "and you were too blinded by what he offered to see what he was taking." She winced as if the words hit her physically. I didn't know he was using me." "That's the problem," I said. "People who don't know end up paying for those who do." Zion returned, careful and silent. "Ready, sir." He set a compact device on the table, an encrypted radio line. I tapped it once. The feed from the cameras sharpened, showing the intruders moving tactically up the stairwell when the elevators locked down automatically. They were efficient, trained, armed with weapons meant for conflict zones, not city towers. "Looks like they're planning to storm the top floors," Zion said. "They think she's hiding somewhere." A humorless smile touched my lips. "They're about to learn she isn't hiding. She's under my roof." Her breath hitched. What are you going to do to them?" "Teach them boundaries," I said. "Something your ex never understood." The men reached floor 22, then 27, then 31. Each movement on the screen made her tremble. She clutched the armrest of the sofa like it was the last piece of stability she had left. "I'm sorry," she whispered suddenly. I didn't turn. "For what?" "For everything. Leaving you, hurting you, coming back, bringing danger, dragging you into something you don't deserve." Her voice cracked on the last word. I looked at her slowly. She wasn't pretending anymore. There was no manipulation, no charm, no attempt to win me back. Just genuine regret, raw, bruised, real. "Sorry doesn't change reality," I said quietly, "but it's a start." She nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks, the kind she used to hide from everyone, including me. But before the moment could settle, the radio crackled. "Sir, they've reached floor 35. Zion looked at me. "This is the last checkpoint before they attempt to breach." I inhaled once, steady, controlled. "Activate the lockdown." He tapped the sequence into the system. Instantly, steel barriers slammed into place on multiple floors. Thick, impenetrable, unforgiving steel. The cameras showed the intruders stop, stunned, realizing the trap had closed around them. She covered her mouth. "You trapped them?" "No," I corrected. "I contained them." Zion glanced at me. "What next, sir?" My eyes darkened. "We go down." Her head snapped up, panic flaring. "You're going down there?" No, you can't if they see you." "They won't see me," I said, "but they will feel the consequences." She rushed toward me, grabbing my arm like she used to when she thought love could fix anything. "Please don't go. If something happens to you because of me." I gently removed her hand. "Nothing happens to me. That's the difference between who I used to be and who I am now." Her eyes filled with a pain deeper than fear, realizing she was no longer someone who could influence my decisions. "Stay here," I said. "I'm scared," she whispered. "I don't want to be alone." You're not alone, I replied. You're in my territory. That's the safest place you've ever been. Zion moved beside me. Ready? The elevator doors opened with a soft metallic sigh. Just before I stepped in, she called out, "Why are you doing this? Why not let them take me?" I paused, turned slightly. Because no one touches what's under my roof, not even the mistakes. The doors closed, and the hunt began. The elevator descended like a silent bullet, slicing through floors of glass, steel, and tension. Each passing number lit up in red, reflecting across my face like warning signs, but my pulse stayed steady. Zion stood beside me, jaw set, posture firm, his hand resting near the side holster he carried under his blazer. He was the kind of man you trust with your life, not because he swears loyalty, but because he proves it without words. "Floor 28, he said quietly as the elevator hummed. "That's where they're stalled." "Good," I replied. "They're boxing. Less movement, less chaos." "Still armed," Zion said. "Still desperate." I smirked. Desperate men make predictable choices. The elevator slowed. Ding. The doors opened onto a silent, darkened hall. The emergency LEDs glowed a faint red, stretching long shadows across the polished floor. Somewhere down the corridor, I could hear faint knocking, steady, metallic, angry. The intruders testing the steel barriers, trying to break through. Pathetic. We moved quietly, my footsteps measured, Zion scanning every corner with the alertness of a soldier who'd seen too many wars. "They're not expecting resistance," he muttered. "They're expecting prey." I corrected. "Let's educate them." We rounded the corner and approached the control panel for this floor. I tapped in the override code, bringing up the camera feed. The screen flickered, then sharpened. 5 men clustered in the stairwell landing, pacing like caged wolves. Black clothes, tactical boots, heavy rifles strapped across their chests. They weren't amateurs. They were professionals. Professionals who didn't realize they were playing in someone else's arena. One of them kicked the steel barrier with frustration. "Where the hell is she?" he barked. "Top floors," another replied. "She can't escape. We drag her out, we get paid. That's the job." A third man cracked his knuckles. "Don't care why they want her. Just want to finish and get out." I exhaled slowly. So it was exactly as I predicted. She wasn't a missing person to them. She was a quota. Zion glanced at me. "Orders." I pressed the intercom button, and my voice filled the stairwell through the overhead speakers. "Gentlemen," I said calmly, "you've wandered into the wrong building." They froze. Instantly, their eyes shot upward at the cameras. "Who the hell is that?" the leader snarled. "The man you should have researched before stepping foot in my territory," I replied. One of them aimed his rifle at the camera. "We're taking the girl. Move aside or—" I cut him off with a laugh. "You think you're negotiating? You're boxing by steel plates thicker than your skulls. You're on my cameras, my floors, my lockdown, and you point a gun at my building." The leader's jaw clenched. "We just want the girl. Give her up and we walk." I leaned into the mic, voice icy. "I don't give up anyone under my roof. Not even the ones who don't deserve protection." Zion glanced at me. "They're going to get violent." "They already are," I said. "Time to end this." I tapped a sequence of commands. A loud click echoed in the stairwell, startling the men. The air vents above them slammed shut. Then the emergency suppression system hissed on. "Non-lethal gas," Zion murmured with approval. "Smart." In seconds, the intruders began coughing, stumbling, dropping their weapons. The gas wouldn't kill them, but it would make them wish they were unconscious sooner. Their legs buckled, their eyes watered, their voices cracked. "What the cough? Turn it off." "I can't breathe." Get the masks." They didn't have masks. They weren't prepared for this kind of opponent. Within 1 minute, all 5 men were on the floor, writhing, then collapsing one by one. I turned off the system. "Retrieve them," I told Zion. He nodded sharply. "Alive?" "Yes." I smirked. "We'll let the authorities have them. They'll be more useful talking than dead." Zion signaled the tactical sweep team waiting in the elevator behind us. They rushed in, efficient and precise, securing the unconscious intruders with restraints. I didn't wait to watch. I turned back toward the elevator. "She's waiting for you," Zion said. "I know." The ride back up felt slower, heavier. When the doors opened to the penthouse floor, I found her standing exactly where I left her, hands clasped, tears dried, eyes wide with fear, and something else, something heavier. "You're back," she breathed, stepping forward. "Are you hurt? Are you—" "I'm fine," I said. She exhaled shakily. Relief washed over her entire body. But then her eyes lowered. "I'm sorry," she whispered again, "for everything." I studied her. She looked small, lost, human, not the confident, careless woman who walked out on me, not the dreamer chasing illusions, just someone who finally understood what reality felt like. "You survived because you were here," I said. "Not with him. Not alone. Here." She nodded slowly. "I know." Her voice trembled. "So what happens now?" I stepped closer, my eyes sharp, unreadable. "What happens now," I said, "is entirely up to me because the danger was gone. But the consequences? Those were still coming." When the curtains opened and the blinding stage lights hit my face, I felt something strange, like fate had been waiting for this exact moment to reveal the final punchline. The crowd's cheers echoed like a storm breaking loose. But my eyes didn't focus on them. They focused on two women standing at opposite ends of the aisle. One who had once thrown my ring into the river like it was trash, and one who held my hand like it was a crown. And for the first time in forever, I wasn't confused. I wasn't torn. I wasn't a broken man picking up shattered pieces someone else left behind. I was a man who knew exactly who he was, where he stood, and who truly walked into his life to stay. Elishba looked frozen, like the world had slapped her awake. Her makeup was flawless, but her face was panic. Real panic. The kind that appears only when a person finally realizes they're no longer the main character in someone else's story. She opened her mouth to say something, but no words came out. Maybe because nothing she could say mattered anymore. Not to me, not to the person I'd become. Sahar squeezed my hand, grounding me. She wasn't performing. She wasn't trying to prove anything. She was simply there, real, steady, and unshaken by the chaos exploding around us. The superstar everyone adored suddenly felt less like a celebrity and more like a partner. Someone who saw me before the world did. Someone who stood by me before the spotlight arrived. The camera zoomed in on my face, waiting for a reaction, a line, a meltdown, anything that could go viral. But I just smiled, a calm, quiet smile that said everything without needing dramatic background music, because this time I was the one calling the shots. Elishba couldn't handle the silence anymore. She rushed forward, heels clicking desperately, and grabbed my arm. The entire auditorium gasped as security rushed in, but I raised my hand to stop them, not because I wanted to hear her out. No, I just wanted to end this chapter properly, once and for all. "Hamza, I'm sorry," she whispered, voice trembling. I made a mistake. I thought he loved me. I thought he'd take care of me. But he left. He used me. I had nothing. No one. I came back because I still love you." Her words echoed through the hall, but they didn't hit me the way she expected. They didn't break me. They didn't move me. They didn't even scratch me. Instead, they just floated in the air like a reminder of the man I used to be, the man who would have crumbled at these tears, forgiven instantly just to save the memory of a love that never truly existed. But that man, he was gone. I gently pulled my arm away, not forcefully, not dramatically, just peacefully, like releasing the last ghost that haunted me. "Elishba," I said, my voice calm, steady, and loud enough for the cameras. "You didn't come back because you love me. You came back because you lost your options." Her eyes widened as the crowd murmured. "You left me when I had nothing," I continued. "And now that I have everything, you want to return. But I'm sorry. This version of me, the one calling the shots, you don't get access to him." Her lips trembled. "Please, just give me one more chance." "No," I said softly. "I already gave everything once. I'm not giving twice to someone who threw it away. Sahar stepped closer and lifted my hand again. The warmth in her touch contrasted the coldness of the moment. She didn't gloat. She didn't smirk. She didn't need to compete. Her presence itself was enough to end every argument. The audience erupted into applause, not for the drama, but for the closure, for the transformation, for the man who finally chose himself. As Elishba stepped back, defeated, she looked at Sahar with envy burning in her eyes. But Sahar didn't even look at her. She only looked at me, with the soft smile of someone who saw my scars and didn't flinch. The host announced our entrance for the final segment, and Sahar and I walked toward the center of the stage. Music swelled, lights rose, and the camera zoomed out to capture the moment the world had waited for. But I only whispered one thing to her. You found me when I was no one. Now stay with me while I become everything. She laughed under her breath. I'm not going anywhere. And in that moment, with thousands watching and millions waiting for the upload, the story finally completed its circle. Not the one where love fails, breaks, or betrays, but the one where a man rises, rebuilds, and rewrites the ending himself. Because in the end, her lover failed the deal. She came back too late. And I became the one calling the shots.